Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be the next episode in our Building an App with Kivy tutorial series. And in this video in particular, we're going to take a look at inserting pop-ups into your app. So if you haven't been following along with the series so far, I'll show real quickly what we've gotten to. We have our functional Python code separated out from the Kivy app design language. But currently you can enter a username and a password. You hit confirm, and then your password and username show up in a little text box. And like I said, all we really have in here is just the logic required to run the app and then the function of pushing the button, because everything else is stored in the Kivy design file. So if any of that seems super confusing and doesn't make sense to you, I do recommend starting this playlist from the beginning on the channel. There's a intro to Kivy apps with Python, because we are just going to dive right into it today. And so my intention is when you hit that confirm button, yeah, it'll still add that text on screen, but then we want a pop-up that says something like user data saved, something like that. And pop-ups are actually different because you need to create them outside of your regular grid layout. So the standard grid layout, everything underneath these brackets and at this indentation level is too far in. So what we really need to do is we need to come up to the top and we need to create a pop-up, which we'll call confirm pop-up at pop-up. And so now what we've done is we've created a second piece, a second thing inside of our app. And so one of the first settings I'll put on is auto dismiss. I'll just turn it false. And that's just a setting where if you click anywhere outside of the pop-up, it'll automatically close if that's on true. So we just want it off. And then we'll give it a title, and we will just say user data has been saved. Okay, and let's see, we want to add, I think we're also going to want to add a button so that you can close out of there, because right now if that was our pop-up, it's gonna, and I'll show you once we run it, it's gonna pretty much fill the entire screen. It doesn't look the best. You would have to close the app and then rerun the app to see anything. So let's go ahead and say on the button we'll just make the text exit pop-up. Okay, and then and then we will go ahead and say on release, so when you press the button, what do we want to do? Well, we want to dismiss, which is just close the screen that it's on. But then, so there's a couple things we have to do, because if I run this right now, even though it's in our Kivy design file, it doesn't show up anywhere. Nothing's happening because it's not actually being called anywhere. So we come down to our button, right, and we have our on press. It goes ahead and it runs that confirm function. So we'll add on release. We want to call the pop-up. So we'll say confirm pop-up dot, right, because we want to run an instance of it, dot open. And so that should be all we need to do, but I'm going to show you kind of what's weird about Kivy that makes this a little more. So yeah, it says it's not defined because it's not under the same build, so it can't see it by default. So you have to import a module that is called factory. So we're going to go ahead and do that all in the Kivy design side of things. Import factory, and then Kivy dot factory dot factory. Okay, and just looking at it, that should be all we need to do, and now it will be able to see it, so we shouldn't get is not defined anymore. Let's go ahead and see. I think maybe I put a space in there, too many. Oh, no, it's because when you actually call it now, it needs to be factory.confirm popup, not just regular confirm popup. So factory is just Kivy's solution for how you look into other builds and pull in the data from them from other layouts and stuff. So let's go ahead and say secret password, confirm entry. There you go. And so you see why I wanted to add a button to the screen, because the default pop-up is going to fill the available space. I mean, it's just like any other Kivy widget. It is resizable, but it basically takes up as much space as it's allowed if you don't create defaults. So there you can see, though, we're able to go into it and exit out of it with our button, which is kind of nice. But so obviously that pop-up looks pretty trash right now. So we'll do a few things to improve it. Like, we'll give this button a font size of like 28, so it'll be a little bit larger on the text that says exit pop-up. And then we can give it a size hint and a position hint just like everything else. So previously, while building out this app, right, we've seen the ability to give things hints, which are saying you're still gonna fill the available space, but at a ratio that's less than 100% of the available space. And position hint is kind of the same thing. POS hint is kind of the same thing, but it needs to be in dictionary format. So we'll say for X, let's go to 0.2 is good. And then for Y, let's go to, let's just put it in the middle of the screen, 0.5. And let's go ahead and run that, take a look and see how this looks. Confirm entry. Nice. So that actually looks pretty sharp. You can see if we resize it, it resizes as well. So do be mindful of that if you're designing pop-ups, that size is pretty important. When you make it a position hint, it's all going to be relative to whatever size your window's at. So make sure to play around with it and check it out in different sizes. But that's really all we need for now. I'll just briefly touch on one thing. If we tried to add a label as well and just had the text say like username saved or something like that, what you're gonna see is pop-ups with Kivy are only able to have one sort of widget. Pop-up can only have one widget as content, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not super useful because most pop-ups that you are gonna have pop up, you need to have a few options for. So what you can do is, and you probably guessed this already, is you could put like a grid layout in here, and then you could have the button inside of that and then the label inside of that. So the solution to having multiple widgets is using a grid layout, because it technically sees that as just one widget. So I'll just leave it at that. This video is getting up there in time. I don't want to take your whole day up, so there you go. Yeah, it doesn't look the best because we haven't given it the size commands or anything, but you can see we were at least able to put a label and a widget in there. We didn't give it any definition because I just wanted to show if you do start trying to add stuff to a pop-up and you get frustrated because it says you can only have one widget, just create a grid layout or a box layout, float layout, anchor layout, whatever kind of layout you want. Create the whole layout, because Kivy sees that all as one widget. So that's really it on pop-ups. Probably the next video I'll do will be actually using multiple screens, which is kind of the next thing you'd want in an app, because most of the time you don't just sit on one screen. So that's it for this video. If you found it useful, I really appreciate a like and a subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. If you have any questions about what you saw here or want to see something specific in the future, feel free to let me know about it in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching and good luck with your code. Thanks. Bye.